Okay, so why don't we get started? So happy GIS Day. Welcome to Track One's speakers for this afternoon. First, I want to talk to you a bit about the Geotech Center Virtual GIS Day. This is the first one. We have to have a virtual GIS Day this year, and so it's given us a chance to hear things from people all over the country and learn about what a lot of people are up to. If you're interested in more information about the Geotech Center, here on the slide, there's the website. The Geotech Center is funded by the National Science Foundation, and they do all things GIS, including professional development, curriculum resources, and new this fall, virtual office hours. So if you have any GIS questions, technical questions, or whatever as a student, or as an educator, feel free to log in and see when their times are on that segment there. So I'm Lisa Stanich. I'm from Lakeland Community College, about 25 miles east of Cleveland, Ohio. And we have Tamara here with us as well as a second moderator. And we'll be monitoring the chat and keeping track of things. But now we're going to turn it over to our presenters this afternoon, who are going to talk to us and show their video presentation on combating food insecurity and food waste through service learning partnerships. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Wing here now. Okay.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you everyone for joining us. Happy GIS Day. With me is also Craig Jones, who is one of the panelists or speakers. And then joining us a little later is Gerta, and you'll hear a more detailed introduction of ourselves in the video, right? As you know, with Zoom and internet connectivity, there may be all kinds of weird things happening if we try doing a live presentation. That's why we pre-recorded the talk, and then we'll have a live Q&A session after the talk. So I hope you enjoy our pre-recorded talk here. And please type in the chat window if you're having issues with the sound or need me to increase the volume. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy GIS Day, and welcome to our session today on combating food insecurity and food waste through GIS service learning partnerships. My name is Wayne Cheung. I'm an assistant director with the Geotech Center, and also a professor of geography and GIS at Palomar College. With me here is Craig Jones from the North County Food Policy Council and Gerta from the San Diego Food System Alliance. Let Craig and Gerta talk a little bit about themselves. So Craig?
Thank you, Wing. Just briefly, I am one of the founding members of the North County Food Policy Council. When we first came together as a collaborative to address food insecurity, we realized that GIS could be useful for our purposes to better understand both the extent of food insecurity and resources available to address it. So we've built on that from our beginning, and we'll get more into this shortly. Thank you.
Awesome. And hi, everyone. My name is Gerta Grutenhuis. I'm a program manager with a nonprofit called the San Diego Food System Alliance. And the mission of our organization is to cultivate a healthy, sustainable, and just food system in San Diego County. And with that mission, I work specifically on programs and initiatives that reduce food waste and also improve food recovery efforts. So I'm excited to tell you all more about how we do that through this partnership with Wing and Craig.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, Craig and Gerta. Okay, so what is service learning? Since we're talking about service learning in this presentation, the National Youth Leadership Council defines service learning as an approach to teaching and learning in which students use academic and civic knowledge and skills to address genuine community needs. In this case, in this particular presentation, you'll see how students in the Palomar Introductory GIS course use the knowledge that they have learned in the course to address the problem of food insecurity and also food waste in San Diego County. So just a brief history of how this whole partnership with Craig and Goethe came about. About 2014, we started instituting service learning at Palomar College. And today, there's service learning integrated into disciplines like sociology, biology, as well as geography and many other subject areas. Then in 2015, the first cohort of Palomar GIS students started working with Craig and the North County Food Policy Council, a partnership that is still ongoing today. And then in 2018, as Goethe will talk a little about, we started expanding beyond just looking at food insecurity in the region to include food waste identification and recovery. And then as of 2020, as Craig will show you a little later, the GIS web map that has been created by students in collaboration with our community partners have nearly 50 layers of information on there. And now Goethe will share her screen to give us a little background on food waste and food recovery.
Awesome. Thank you, Wang.
Thank you.
All right. So you should be seeing my screen now. And as Wing mentioned, I'll be talking about kind of the issue of food waste as well as the issue of food insecurity and providing a little bit of context around the scope and the scale of these issues. And then I'll also be talking about some strategies and solutions for addressing this issue. And then I'll pass it over to Craig, who will show you some stills of the GIS map and how we've used GIS mapping in partnership with these students to be able to elevate some of these strategies. But starting off with the issue of food waste. In the United States, this is our pie chart. So about 40% of food that gets produced in our country actually ends up in the trash can and goes to waste. And when we think about food waste, maybe some images that might come to your mind are banana peels or avocado skins. But the reality is that a lot of food that ends up in the trash can is actually perfectly good food. And here on the screen, I have some images that are actually from institutional kitchens around San Diego County. So they're from hotels, hospitals, other large kitchens. And this is an inside view to the types of food that are going to waste in those large settings. So we can see some examples like browned bananas that maybe aren't going to get used because they're past their best use kind of date. As well as those salad packs might be an example of that. There are some items that have maybe been overproduced and for whatever reason can't be reused internally. So these are really some examples that speak to the scale and the scope of this issue, and that food waste is not just those odds and ends of fruits and vegetables that you can't eat, but it's actually perfectly good food that ends up in the trash due to us forgetting about it, leaving it in the fridge, for example, and at the back of the fridge where we can't see it. We're producing too much, not eating leftovers, lots of different reasons that food waste occurs. So why is this an issue? There's really kind of three main buckets of why it's really an issue that food waste happens. So first of all, it's a financial waste. So throughout the United States, the financial cost of food waste cumulatively is around $218 billion. And when we look at the average family of four, they spend around $1,500 per year on food that they don't eat. The next kind of impact category is environmental waste. So when we waste food, we waste all of the resources that went into producing that food. So you can think about corn or wheat being grown, it's taking up farmland, it's getting fertilized, it's using water, soil, there's labor involved. When it gets manufactured and processed, there's energy requirements, again, labor, and then transportation comes into the picture, and there are fuel costs associated. And this goes on and on throughout the food system, where all of these different inputs and resources are essentially going towards getting that food to your plate. And when food goes to waste, all those resources went to waste as well. So food waste is a huge environmental issue. Actually, about 20% of all fresh water in the United States is used to grow food that goes to waste, and about 20% of all farmland as well. It also is a major contributor to climate change. So when food waste rots in landfills, it emits methane gas, which is a very potent greenhouse gas. And globally, food waste actually causes around 6% of greenhouse gas emissions. And then finally, the last kind of impact area is societal. So at the same time that we have all of this food going to landfill, we also have millions of Americans that are food insecure. And it really is just a huge, irony that we have so much waste in our system, so much good food going to waste, while we also have so many folks that are experiencing food insecurity. So getting into food insecurity a little bit more, here in San Diego County, it's estimated that around 500,000 tons of food are wasted every year, while around 500,000 individuals are food insecure. The number of people that are facing food insecurity. Maybe you've heard about, record-setting lines and traffic jams for a local food bank in your area. Here in San Diego County, before COVID, about 1 in 5 kids experienced hunger, and now at a national level, it's 1 in 3. So there have been some, major impacts on food insecurity just recently because of the pandemic. I do quickly want to mention that addressing the issue of food waste is not going to solve the issue of food insecurity. Hunger is a very complex issue that's rooted in, structural racism, poverty, and inequity. So we acknowledge that by solving the issue of food waste, it's not going to solve hunger, but being able to capture some of that food that is going to waste and redirect it to people who need it is a great way to provide some temporary relief to these individuals. So I've kind of painted a bit of a gloomy picture with the scale and the scope of this problem, but I really want to emphasize that it doesn't have to end like this with a trash can full of good food going to waste. There are actually many solutions that have been researched, that are data-driven, and that have been implemented to reduce the amount of food that ends up in the landfill. And here on the screen is something called the food recovery hierarchy. And it essentially outlines the most preferred strategies for addressing food waste at the top. And so we know that the best strategy for reducing food waste is to prevent that food from going to waste in the first place. So thinking about a couple of slides back, some of those images we saw, those brown bananas could be used for another recipe, like creating banana bread. Or there can be better inventory management systems put in place so that that banana or those other products get used in time when they're still good. The next strategy is feeding people. So this is food donation. We also use the term food recovery to refer to this, where essentially you are able to capture any food that is excess at grocery stores, retailers, farms, or in those large institutional kitchens and reroute them to people who need it. For any food that might not be fit for humans, maybe it's a little bit rotten, etc., that food can go to animals. And then for any food scraps that remain, that food can be turned into soil, or it can be recycled through anaerobic digestion to create energy. So there are many different solutions to this problem. Here in California, we actually recently had some legislation passed that mandates a reduction in food waste disposal, as well as an increase in the amount of food that's being rescued for donation. So the law is called SB 1383, and it put these statewide targets into place. So by 2025, we must reduce our food waste disposal by 75%. And also, we need to increase the amount of edible food that's being rescued by about 20%. So I want to talk about some strategies that kind of fall into these two buckets of reducing organic waste from being disposed, as well as rescuing food. And after that, Craig will show you how the map can really be used as a tool for implementing those strategies. So on the topic of food waste disposal reduction, some different strategies that a city or county or state can implement to be able to reduce the amount of food that's getting disposed of is, first of all, to conduct a landscape analysis. So to try and understand where food waste is happening in a city and who the main generators are. In tandem with that, identifying how much food waste they're generating and how much capacity is available to accept that food waste, will help to illuminate what kind of capacity gap there is so that they can really focus any programming to make sure that they are able to provide capacity for any of that excess that doesn't currently have a solution for being recaptured. Another strategy is to use the information that can be retrieved from the landscape analysis to identify, the major sectors that are producing wasted food or major geographic locations where there's clumping of large food waste generators, and provide targeted sector-specific solutions like outreach and education or programs. So again, Craig will be getting a little bit more into the details and show you the imaging of how the GIS map that we created in partnership with the students can be used to really implement some of these strategies and programs for food waste disposal reduction. Moving on to food recovery, the act of food recovery or food donation is essentially identifying potential food donors and getting any food donations that they might have to local food assistance agencies and programs. So the GIS map can be really useful in helping a city identify where the food donors are and also where those food assistance agencies and programs are so that they can increase that food recovery and be able to meet that 20% increase in food recovery target that the state has set. So with that, I will pass it over to Craig, who's going to get into some of the images and really show you guys how this GIS map has been used to help implement these strategies.
Thank you very much, Gertrude and Wing. It's my pleasure to be able to show some examples here of how our GIS platform, what it shows and how it's used. So let me start my slideshow. This first slide, when the North County Food Policy Council first established our platform, it was focused on North San Diego County demographics and resources only. This first example shows commercial kitchens, that is kitchens licensed by San Diego County for public food preparation, and it's differentiated by type of operator or type of land use. And again, you'll notice that it's showing this dispersal point layer in North County only. The different colored icons show different types of land uses, whether restaurants or even schools. But again, you'll note that this is showing North County only. The second map shows population. This is absolute number of Hispanic persons by census block group. And as you'll note here from the area of the San Diego region, it's showing the North San Diego County area only. The darker the color, the greater the concentration of Hispanic persons. Hispanic population is the primary minority population in North San Diego County. That's where we wanted to start. Over time, as the value of this platform became known to municipalities and food agencies throughout the region, more and more layers were added and some were updated to cover the entire San Diego region. I've got three examples here. This first is a slide showing this is food assistance agencies and programs that partner with either San Diego Food Bank or Feeding San Diego. The San Diego Food Bank and Feeding San Diego are the primary wholesale large food banks in the San Diego region. So their partners throughout the region are show a good dispersal of where food assistance is today and where it is not. The two different color dots show partnerships with these two agencies. The larger the circle is the greater amount of annual pounds of food assistance that particular agency gets from one of these two food banks. The next example here, now this is the extent and type of public transportation. It shows the type of transportation and the location of stops and stations. This uses both a line layer and point layers. The reason why we wanted to have a picture of public transportation is that for persons who are food insecure often do not have adequate transportation resources of their own. So being able to see the extent of where public transportation is available and compare that with where there is food insecurity and food resources shows us where there are gaps to fill. And the final example showing the whole extent of the San Diego region, it's obviously useful to be able to see the different jurisdictions, the municipalities, and the unincorporated county area. And that's what our platform allows us to see now. Now, our platform was initially used by our member food agencies for their own understanding of food insecurity needs and resources and the gaps to do further planning for their planning and to justify grant funding. And as an example of this, this map shows the location of persons in poverty. That's the polygons. Again, the darker the color, the greater the concentration of persons in poverty, compared with the location of existing food assistance programs. And again, the circles of partnering food assistance agencies. Now, this enables us visually very quickly to see geographic gaps in access, justifying grant funding for such things as mobile outreach, school partnerships, and so on. Now, this broader region-wide capture and use of data has expanded the potential of our platform. And an example here, this results from a partnership with another community partner. This is the calculated non-commercial backyard produce gleaning potential by zip code throughout the San Diego region. Again, the darker the color here, the greater the potential of unrealized backyard gleaning potential for further food assistance for those in food need. Now, as Gertrude described earlier, California laws increasingly require local cities and counties to reduce their solid waste stream and to reduce and recover food in this stream, with recovered food available to feed the hungry. Our GIS platform became known to our region's municipalities through regional collaboration meetings, and in discussion, they realized that visualized data on our platform could help them understand their waste stream and to help them plan for the mandated reductions and food recovery. Over the past couple of years, 10 of our region's 18 cities have had their data mapped on our platform. And this fall semester, Palomar students are adding the city of Imperial Beach waste stream to this platform as requested by the city for their use. And I've got a couple of examples to show here illustrating this. These are both for the city of Escondido, as you can see by the green boundary line area. What this map shows are the specific point locations of types of solid waste and wasted food generators. And this is classified by a state land use type classification system. Since the state is mandating these programs by the localities, the state has come up with a classification of types of land uses. So we wanted our platform to be able to display the different kinds of generators of waste and food waste by that state classification. So you can see here throughout the city of Escondido exactly where these generators are. The next slide shows those same points, each of those food generators, but this time keying on the calculated annual volume of tons of food waste coming from each one of those generators. And of course, with the capacity of GIS, we can see individually where they are, what they are, and what their annual food tonnage generated waste is. Now, finally, using our platform, with GIS's filtering and layer design options, customized maps can be made to support other human need endeavors. And I've got a couple of examples here. Recently, the Alliance for Regional Solutions was able to partner with other North County entities to apply for a California state grant to address the need for more transportation access for underserved populations. We used our GIS platform to be able to quickly address some of the requirements of this state grant. The state grant required contiguous census tracts. They had to be attached with each other, and at least 50% of the census tracts had to be able to qualify state definitions of underserved populations. Without having our platform, it would have been much more difficult to be able to do this, but we were able to put this together, and this is our proposal to the state for our grant submittal. Now, related to this, we are able to demonstrate such things as, again, this is public school enrollment by qualified free or reduced lunch. That is, each of these dots is a school. The larger the circle, the greater the proportion of that school enrollment of the students qualifying for free or reduced lunch. So you can quickly be able to see where that kind of a concentration of population and food insecurity is. And using, again, GIS capacity, we can overlay that with the different jurisdiction boundaries. Now, while I've got some time here, I'd like to digress a minute and kind of go in inside GIS related to our use of this data related to SB 1383. The data we receive from the cities is their waste volume for each individual waste pickup account by site address, and this comes from the city's franchised waste haulers. Now, as you can imagine, waste haulers don't have a lot of data. They often have just the account name, the address, and the type of waste container that's being used. This raw data sometimes identifies the land use type for each site, but more often does not, and does this inconsistently. This raw, inconsistent data has to be cleaned up, the type of each site identified per the state's categorization, and then expanded attributes must be assigned to each record using state calculation factors to change trash volume to weight, and then figure the percent of total waste made up of wasted food, again differentiated by each state's classification. The real time-consuming part of this has been identifying a trash account's type of land use, because again, trash haulers don't keep track of this. This has required a lot of online Google type of research. This is a real value-added part of what we can do for the cities for their SB 1383 compliance using our platform. And the point I want to make here is to underscore the real-world challenges of dealing with raw data for desired GIS display and use. Thank you very much, Wayne.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Gurcha. So hopefully by now you can see some of the work that Palomar students have done for Craig and Gurcha, but as you heard, right, none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for this partnership where a lot of the data that the students were working with were provided by Craig and Gurcha and also their partners. And then in many cases, Craig even did some of the calculations and pre-processing, as he mentioned. Students sometimes do some of that pre-processing themselves also, and they mainly use tools like geocoding and researching census data or local government data like the bus stop public transit data, and then map that information out and put it onto the web map. So as you can see from Craig's presentation and also Gurcha's presentation, right, this is really a two-way interaction. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? And that our community partners learn about GIS and its applications and is starting to use GIS more in their daily operations. And then students are also seeing the significance of GIS in solving real-world problems. And even the teacher, like myself, are learning about having a greater appreciation for this issue of food insecurity and food waste. So if you're interested in seeing the GIS map that Craig demonstrated in his presentation, please look at this website here. And then if you're interested in learning about the certificate or associate's degree program in GIS at Palomar College, please visit us here. And here's a link to the organization that Craig helped found. And if you want to learn more about Gurcha's organization, the Food System Alliance, please visit this website. And for more information about other initiatives by the Geotech Center as well as other events that are occurring on today's GIS Day celebration, please visit the Geotech Center website. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for your time, Craig and Goethe, for presenting to our audience. And now please stay tuned for our live Q&A session. Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. So if you have any questions, are they supposed to type into the chat window?
Yes, if you have any questions, just type it into the chat and we'll get them answered.
I note that Professor Chung has added into the chat, again, the links for having direct access to our GIS platform. And
I can also put in the link for the North County Food Policy Council and the Food System Alliance also.
While we wait for any questions, in getting ready for today, it occurred to me, in relation to other uses today of GIS technology and GIS sophistication, I think we represent kind of the not ready for primetime players, the garage band that's hopefully evolving into the Grateful Dead, or the bumblebee that doesn't know that it can't fly. We are not extremely sophisticated, as many of the other seminars earlier today are, but I think we're kind of we've been on the cutting edge of application of GIS technology to non-engineering or non-land use traditional kinds of considerations. And again, it's been, I think we have been on the cutting edge of, in the state of California, of helping our San Diego County jurisdictions deal with their requirements under SB 1383. It's been an interesting process to work with them, their data and their data haulers.
Oh, I think we have two questions and several questions now.
Okay.
So Chris Cruz asks, are there any other jurisdictions doing what you're doing?
I can talk about that one.
Oh, thank you, Goethe.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So within San Diego County, we have actually 19 jurisdictions. So we have mapped 10 of the jurisdictions on the San Diego County map. Thinking about other regions, though, other parts of the country that are, maybe trying to do similar work. The EPA has actually developed a GIS map called the Excess Food Opportunities Map, and it plugs into some national databases to try to come up with, it shows at the end of the day kind of similar what we're showing, different sectors, different locations, and estimates around how much edible food waste is generated there. But it's not as specific and granular as our map because we're getting this information directly from waste haulers. So that's a map that's useful kind of on a national level to just start to get into the weeds on this issue. I know that many other regions have developed kind of broader food system related maps that show, obviously what we showed today is focused on food waste, but we also have many other layers related to the food system. I believe the state of Vermont has a very robust kind of farm to plate network program that has a GIS map as well. So I think there certainly are some other examples, but specifically related to food waste, from what I know within California, our map is really pretty innovative.
And Craig, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, it's been one of my realizations in working with the jurisdictions that have had their waste stream data provided to us is how relatively unprepared they were to take up these responsibilities under this new state law. I think the capacity of our nonprofit community, and especially the work that Goethe's agency, San Diego Food System Alliance, has brought to bear has been very, very useful to our local cities to help them begin to meet their responsibilities. You know, it's government agencies have been among the first entities to use GIS in any degree of detail or sophistication, but they were have been to date, wholly unprepared to deal with this aspect of their new state responsibilities. I think it'll push them forward also to deal in their renewal agreements with their franchise trash haulers to get more direct and detailed information from them.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. So I'm moving down and looking at Tim's question and also Jasmina's question. So Jasmina asked, what are some ways individuals can help reduce food waste and increase food redistribution within their community? So thanks to this service learning partnership and thanks to Gercha, who actually used to be involved with the Solana Center for Environmental Innovations, they actually do have a program called the Food Cycle Program where you can collect your food scraps and you can take the buckets of food scraps to the center and they'll compost it for you. So composting, so think of that as like baby step to composting and reducing the amount of food waste that you're contributing to the landfill. So that's one of the answers to Jasmina's question. And then I think Gercha already sort of answered Tim's question about other communities in California. They're doing something similar to what we're doing. And I really want to applaud Craig and Gercha for being like the cheerleaders and telling other cities about this map and encouraging other cities to participate and contribute their data to this map. Because if you look at the North County Food Policy Council website, you know, I'll paste it in the chat window again, you can see Craig also has compiled a GIS mapping directions document that shows beginners how to use this map that we have created. So rather than just throwing a map up there with 50 layers and hope that someone at the city will know how to use this thing, Craig also documented for a how-to guide for some of the other communities to see this as a model.
You know, I see a question here from Tom Tate. Have we been involved in local teen groups such as 4-H or Scouts on your efforts? I also see a question from another one of our participants. I'm a GIS teacher in Mid-City San Diego. Is there a way that high school students can participate or help you in your project in any way? Over the last couple of years, we've actually done some interaction with high school students from downtown San Diego, High Tech High, that have done annual projects or semester projects for their high school work using our data platform. So we've been able to engage them as well, which has not only helped us, but has also helped them get a broader appreciation for the issue of food waste and climate change and how they relate to each other. So yeah, if you're a teacher in Mid-City San Diego, if you want to get in touch with me, I'll put my contact information in the chat. I'd be glad to see you know, what we can work together with you.
And I'll also, just to add to Wing's answer to Yasmina's question, I wanted to offer a couple other resources as well. So I know one of the things I shared in my presentation was that EPA food recovery hierarchy. That's kind of an upside down triangle. And it outlined the different strategies for food waste reduction, starting with prevention and then recovery or donation for people, animal feed, and then composting. So just to give some tips on kind of ways that you can actively prevent food waste to be generated, there's a really great website and tool called savethefood.com that has tons of resources like recipes. There's a guesstimator tool that can tell you how many portions of food you should cook if you're having like a dinner party or small gathering. Obviously not as useful during this time, but maybe as you're scaling down on your Thanksgiving celebrations, it could be a helpful tool. So I'd highly recommend checking that out to just learn about some tips and tricks for how you can change some of your habits within your kitchen to reduce food waste. And then if you're interested in supporting some of the food donation and recovery efforts that are happening in your community, I'd recommend searching for a local food bank and volunteering. There's always a huge need for volunteers at local food banks and at food recovery organizations. And then Wing touched on the composting option. If you're not in San Diego, you can see if there are any community composting groups in your area that are organizations that will be able to take your food scraps and turn them into soil.
And I want to applaud Gertcha and the San Diego Food System Alliance. They are a tremendous resource in our area for information about all of this. So if we don't get to everybody's information today or follow up with you, please go to their website, sdfsa.org, and look around to see what you can glean from there.
Great. And I think Max asked, does anybody know what kind of jurisdictional GIS map that the state of Ohio use regarding food waste? Lisa, do you, hate to put you on the spot there, Lisa. Oh, you need to unmute. Oh.
He is at my institution, so I will look into that in greater detail.
And it's certainly something, if you want to push your state forward to address the issue of food insecurity as well as reducing climate change greenhouse gases, it's an opportunity for you to bug your elected representatives to push them forward as well.
Well, I'm going to paste in the chat window the link from EPA about sustainable management of food. So maybe you can find some resource there for your local area. And then Thomas asked, how about a county community food security plan? Is there one that can be shared from San Diego County?
Yeah, so the County of San Diego actually in 2018 developed a food donation action plan report. So specifically looking at food donation and food recovery in the context of food insecurity. So that's a great resource that I can point you towards. We also have an organization here locally called the San Diego County Hunger Coalition, and they do research about the whole kind of hunger as a whole, really connecting it to, you know, poverty. So they have really good resources on food insecurity at the county level and kind of what is needed to be able to provide that food need for people who need it. I think that our GIS map was actually featured in a county report, the State of the Food System report. So we do have some communication with our county to make sure that they're aware of our efforts and that they're able to plug in what we've been developing and working on into their own research and their own publications. And quickly, I did see kind of a question on tying everything into like a more regenerative agriculture discussion. That's certainly something that at the Alliance, you know, we're an organization that works across the entire food system. So we have a program dedicated to food waste, but we really think about this issue systemically and in the context of the entire food system, from production to processing to consumption, you know, all the way to the waste recovery, regenerative side of it. So, you know, at its finest, a sustainable food waste recovery system is a circular waste system where any food residuals that couldn't be prevented or that couldn't be donated or fed to animals are composted and turned into soil that then goes back into the ground and really feeds into this regenerative system. So it's definitely something that my organization is working on to try to help, you know, bring these composting options, make sure that they're more widely available across the county.
Are we out of time or do we still have?
Well, I want to point out that some of the students that have worked with Craig and Gertcha also gone on to do internships with their organizations, and some of them have also gone on to explore deeper into the issue that they were working on while they were doing these service learning projects as part of their class assignment. So I'm putting in the chat window a story map made by one of the former GIS students that just basically just on the topic of gleaning and just looking at lost opportunities for gleaning in his own immediate neighborhoods. So that would be one of the other answers to combating food waste, just identifying where gleaning can potentially happen. And Craig and Goethe, I hope we will have more opportunities to work with the lady from Senior Gleaner again to map out some of that.
Yep,
yeah.
Karen.
Are there other questions?
Like we got them
I think
all.
we got everything in the chat there. Mm-hmm.
Just let me add too, on the nonprofit side of what we're doing, my organization and Gertrude's organization, we are very efficient and very lean. If there are any funders out there that are listening to this that want to help fund our efforts, we'd be glad to entertain that. And thanks again to Palomar College for being the platform that hosts our GIS map. It's a tremendous, tremendous partnership.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks for getting the word out there about GIS and also applications of GIS in fighting food insecurity and food waste.
All right, so I think we're done. I think we've had a very successful GIS day virtually, and thank you for sharing all of your experiences here with service learning, and it was all very interesting and some really fantastic work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes,
Thank you,
thank
Craig.
you.
Thank you, Goethe. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.